Hello, everyone. This is Nidal Haykal, your host for episode 8 from season 2 of my series, Nidal Haykal Live. I have an amazing, wonderful. Um, I think I got a notification that there's a trouble streaming to LinkedIn. This maybe will keep you trying. Okay, that's new for me. So it looks like we are not streaming via LinkedIn. We are streaming via YouTube. Again, welcome. And this is my episode 8 of season 2, Nidal Haykal Live. I have an amazing guest, and she is the coach that helps to empower mid-career to senior level leaders to become even more amazing. If you want to make a difference, impact, or to become even more amazing, Elaine Jacques, my guest, is the one who can help you achieve this. Let's all welcome my guest for today, Elaine Jacques. Hello, Elaine. It was too much pressure. I get this big notification. We are not streaming on LinkedIn, so I apologize. Welcome to episode 8 of my second season, and thank you very much for your time. It's Sunday. You are in the west coast of USA, and I'm in the east coast. Surprisingly, we are enjoying the same weather. It's 85 here today. Elaine, I'm so honored and so thankful for your time, and welcome.
Thank you so much. It is my honor to be here, and I just am looking forward to this great conversation with you, Nidal.
Elaine, I was just telling you that your voice it has a lot of a tremendous amount of calmness. I just want to say thank you for being with us, and it's going to be definitely a viral episode with all what you do. Elaine, my first question is regarding your bio on LinkedIn, which is includes only 1% about you. And my audience, please be prepared. Elaine Jacques is an international coach, professional certified coach, conversational intelligence certified coach, body language trainer, accent modification instructor, voice therapist, medical speech language pathologist. And what I want to know, what other percentage you can give us today about Elaine Jacques of the rest of the 99%? You told me we have more than 12 hours.
Oh, clearly that was a mistake. Well, thank you. Obviously, I think I am a lifelong learner. So I apparently, if I'm going to learn something, I want to get certified in it. So thus the number of certifications I have. But I enjoy learning. I enjoy growing myself as a person and seeing what ways that helps me to be able to connect with other people better. One of the things that you and I talked about is my love of languages and traveling and other cultures. So I know bits and pieces of 11 languages. And as we had fun discussing, Arabic is the one that I'm currently putting a little bit of effort to. So I appreciate that you complimented my voice. That's very kind of you. And I think it speaks to the word that you taught me when we were speaking before, which is salam, which means peace. And I think that's beautiful. So thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot to welcome you in Arabic. Elaine Jacques, أهلا وسهلا.
شكرا جزيلا.
I'm not gonna test you with Ahmed.
No, please, please don't.
Elaine, you have your banner on LinkedIn. It says plus you plus 1% to make you more amazing. Correct?
Mm.
Is this your slogan?
It is. My slogan, I'll break it down into two parts, is the U plus 1% today. And I like to emphasize that because a lot of us will approach our lives and things that we want to do of, oh, someday it would be nice to do this, or one day I will do this. Well, one day and someday are things that never show up on your calendar. So I like to say, what's the 1% that you can add today? And let's make it happen. Let's take action on it. Let's not wait, because sometimes that first tiny step is the most difficult. And then, of course, the last part is become even more amazing, because my philosophy is that we, you and I, and everyone in the audience are already amazing because of all the things that we've done in our lives to get where we are. And so going forward, it's you become more amazing, even more amazing. And
Wow.
I like for people to know that, because sometimes when people feel like, oh, I'm not exactly the way I would like to be, they feel like, oh, I need someone to fix me. You don't need fixing. You just need to become even more amazing because you're already amazing.
Is this 1% an invitation that any progress counts, even if
Mhm.
it's a small percentage?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like to use the example of, if you don't think a 1% matters, turn on a faucet, just a single drip at a time, and put a container underneath it. And then come back later and see how much more full that container is. Every 1% counts. Even if it doesn't feel like much, it does count.
This is a very important what you call it in English metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how you break it down. It really counts and makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Elaine, you basically work with mid-career and senior leaders. How do you see leaders these days?
Well, I like to think very positively. And if a leader isn't yet achieving their full potential, I think they have more that they can do. I think we all can become even more amazing by adding those 1% things. So I don't ever like to think anyone is a lost cause unless they choose to be.
Do you see leaders, they are at the top of the pyramid of
Mhm.
an organization, or they are at the bottom as a foundation to the organization? Or do you see them should be on a track, pivoting between the top and the foundation? Where do you
I,
think the perfect position for a leader in an organization?
I can see the positive benefits of both of those ideas. There are some people who feel like they're drawing people up and empowering them. And if that works for them as a way to be able to focus on lifting other people up, then I respect that. For people who take a more servant leadership, where they're holding up the team and they're building them up from below, providing them with a foundation, I respect that as well. I like personally the concept of partnership, where you're partnering with your team, you're moving forward together. But it is something that I'm fairly flexible with, because with different people's mindset, as long as we are focused in a very positive way towards helping lift other people up and growing and empowering new leaders, I think whichever approach works best for that person is what's most appropriate for them.
Do you think leaders can be created, or they are born as leaders? In other words, can anybody be a leader? A leader?
I think so. I love the quote, and I am not going to get it right this morning, but I love the quote that says, if you inspire others, if you it goes something like, if you help others see the best in themselves, then you are a leader. I believe anybody in any position can be a leader. It's a matter of choosing to help other people. I love the word edify, which means to build up. And anybody who chooses to help someone else become even more amazing, to use my tagline, to help them grow into their full potential is someone who's a leader. I don't care if you're someone who sees, I guess normally the position would be very low level, like say someone who cleans a building. If you don't think that that person can be a leader, then watch how they interact with those around them, and they might help other people have a better day by their cheerfulness or by the excellence that they provide the service that they do. For them, they are a leader. And that I like to show respect for everybody at every level of our culture because we all matter. I have worked in hospitals as a medical speech language pathologist, and I will say anyone who thinks that there's an unimportant role in the hospital, just have the people who clean the rooms not show up for a day and see what happens.
I want to say thank you to everyone checking in and engaging. I'm going to say hi to Lopez, Bernard, Kemi, Ahmad or Ahmed. Your call. Is it Ahmad or Ahmad? No?
It's Ahmad. No, wait. It's Ahmed. Ahmed.
Ahmed Musa, thank you very much. And
Ahmed Musa is one of my 4 Ahmeds on LinkedIn, and he is part of helping me learn how to say his name correctly. So, shukran jazilan, Ahmed, for coming today.
You see, he's saying Ahmed, not Ahmed. Yeah,
I know. I'm trying.
Well, in Arabic, we have the both sounds, the kh sound and the ha. So Ahmed is ha sound.
Yes.
Ahmed has an amazing question. Can it work in both flat and pyramid organization structure? I think you answered this within. If you want to go over it again. He's talking about leadership.
Yes. I'm going to say just very quickly, Ahmed, is that you ask very, yes, and I do need help with my Arabic. You ask very good questions, so thank you for that. I think it can work depending on the culture of the people, and if there are people who need a very strong structure in order to function, I think having a leader who creates that structure for their people is a good thing. So I think it can work in either direction, whether more flat or more pyramid, depending on the shape that you want to talk about. So I think it can work, but I think it does depend on the people.
Thank you, Elaine. How do you work with leaders, Elaine, in a way to reflect this on their personalities or to reflect their, performance within an organization? Like what you do with leaders, does it influence their outcome in their personalities, or they can benefit within their roles?
I personally, I love the word holistic because I'm a very strong believer in that. I think that unless we're willing to change ourselves, that trying to focus on changing other people is going to not work as well. It can be effective because some people will just say, oh, okay, because someone is their boss. But I think it's far more effective to model what change looks like and what kinds of things you want to have other people emulate in your organization. So I tend to focus holistically and say it starts from within. If you're not willing to work on your own shortcomings, and we all have them, if as a leader you're not willing to address those, then it's far less likely that your people are going to be willing to as well.
Did you ever get into a dead end with clients regarding this? They don't want to change personally.
I yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think we all go through these phases where we're more likely to want to change, and so we'll work at it for a while, and then there's something happens, or it's just been so much effort that we kind of retract back into our comfort zone, and we build up our ability to do some more change, and then we come out. And so I think there are times where I've had pauses in coaching conversations with leaders where they just need to kind of take time to regroup, and you need to be respectful of that. That you can't just always push, 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 push. It's very similar to just like there's day and night. We need time to rest, we need time to reflect and recuperate, and then we're ready to come out and do it again. I think is a good way to approach it. But yes, there are some times where people will just shut down and they'll say, I can't do it anymore. I'm not ready. Maybe it's due to stresses in their personal life. I often will gently ask if there is something that's impacting them, because I have found personally, as well as what I've seen with my clients, that if we have stress in our personal lives, we're a little less resilient in our professional lives if the stress levels are going up in both sides. Whereas if we have a very peaceful, comfortable home environment, we're more likely to be able to tolerate stresses in our professional settings, and vice versa. So it can be something that if the stress rises on both sides for a variety of reasons, it can say, you know what, we need to take a pause. Just, it's a little bit going into survival mode before we're ready to go back into change mode.
Wow. Elaine, with who you prefer to work? A man who is in a leadership role, or a woman? Or there is no preferences?
No, I don't have a preference
I
with
want to
regard.
see. I want to see how much, because you know what, we are struggling. The men, we are struggling.
Mhm.
Nobody is supporting us these days.
I will say, I don't have a preference as far as gender. I do have a preference with regard to personality and willingness to change. So that's where the divide tends to come more strongly. Is, if someone thinks, oh well, I should do this, but I really don't want to, you're not my person. I'm not your person. So we won't have the best outcome to work together. But I do believe strongly that both men and women need to be supported for different reasons. And I think that we all deserve to have someone in our corner who can help us do better. And so that's my circuitous way of saying it doesn't matter, but it does.
It doesn't matter whether the leader is a man or a woman.
Mhm. Yeah.
And uh, do you think leadership these days, it's more about power, or it's more about the outcome, no matter what it takes? As a coach,
I think I'm going to answer that very carefully, but I think with power and authority, and there's a quote that I'm referencing, comes great responsibility. And so it's recognizing that if it's your ego that needs the power, you're not going to be as effective long term. Whereas if you understand that just inherent to your role, you have power, and how you choose to use that to positively influence or impact others around you to grow them, then it can be an extremely impactful tool that you have. But I think it's important to understand why you have it, and do you need it in order to feel important, or do you understand that you have it and you can use it for good?
oh, amazing. As a body language trainer, um, does this make your life easier?
Oh, that's a yes and a no.
Yeah.
Yes, because it helps me to connect with other people, I think, more effectively. If you watch and pay attention to how someone is reacting to something that you said, you can clear up confusions or misunderstandings easier and faster, because you notice those smaller things. I will say no, because it becomes a whole nother stream of data that you're taking in. And I will say at times, especially if someone's doing something unusual, and this actually comes from several parts of my background, the speech therapy, the voice therapist. Um, that sometimes I'll get distracted by what someone is doing or how they're doing it rather than paying attention to what they're saying. And so I have to very specifically say, no, I want to be able to be fully present for this person. And I can maybe touch on if it's important, if it's not just something, I think I mentioned to you that I'm a neuroscience nerd
Yeah.
and I'm also a voice nerd. So there are things about the way certain people talk that will capture my nerdy interest, if you will. And so I have to very specifically make an intentional choice to say, no, I want to be fully present for this person and not go off into my head like, what is that? What are they doing? I wonder why that is. Because I will promise that there are times when that happens where I will realize I have totally missed what they've said just because I was thinking about how they said it.
But when you go on a regular day, let's say you are at the supermarket,
Mhm.
do you feel yourself you are engaged with others, how they are feeling from their body language? In other meanings, uh, how much we can tell, you know, from our body.
There is a lot. They in body language terminology, we call it body leaks and tells, where there are things where someone might say, "Oh, hi, how are you?" But how they were just reacting to just life in general before they saw you and felt that they needed to put on that front is that they're slumped over and that their face is not happy and those kinds of things. And you will see there's something called micro expressions where there are tiny changes in someone's face that will happen in less than a second that can let you know that this person is trying, that this isn't a natural response, that they are trying to do that. So I think there again, that would be a time if I see someone. I have to say I'm an introvert, so I don't often inflict myself on other people purposefully in the grocery store. But if I were to see someone that I was acquainted with and I saw that they were looking kind of down and slumped over and not as cheerful as they might usually be, even if they were to say, "Oh, hi, how are you?" I'd be like, "And how are you doing?" You know, give the little bit of a tone to say, if you'd like to talk, I'm happy to listen, and I happen to have noticed that perhaps today's not the best day for you. Um, does that help answer your
It
question?
helps. It helps a lot.
Okay.
And have you ever approached somebody based on what they unleashed from their body
I
language?
Yes, I have. There have been times where I have noticed someone maybe sitting by themselves at a restaurant who I felt um, I don't know, I guess impressed upon to go up to them and just say, "Are you okay?" You know, even as a stranger, sometimes what we need is just to know someone's seen us, that we exist in someone else's eyes, that our presence is important. And sometimes that can make all the difference for somebody.
Can you tell if somebody is lying?
If somebody's what?
Is lying?
Oh, it's lying. So this one, I will say you need to be very careful of. That there is a lot of conjecture that says, oh, you know, I'm going to use the standard example. Oh, my, you know, partner, my significant other showed up at home with flowers. This means he's doing something. I think there's an inherent
Did my wife
danger.
talk to you today?
No, Nidal, we haven't spoken yet today, but we will later. um, I think there's an inherent danger in making snap judgments. The general rule is, in body language terminology, is to look for pattern changes. So you need to approach this one very, very carefully and not make snap judgments. Things taken out of context can frequently be misconstrued as lying. You know, there's the whole, oh, if she looks up and to the left or if she looks up and to the right. If that's my normal pattern, then suddenly me saying, and looking up doesn't mean I'm lying. It means I'm thinking. And it's something that I need to do for myself. But if someone doesn't know me and they have that presupposition in their mind that, oh, everyone who looks up and to the right means they're automatically lying. So I think we do need to be very careful. But have there been times where I had a pretty strong sense that someone was lying? Yes.
Based on what do you do, right? It's not a gift.
No, in those cases, it's not a gift. I will say to use I want to be careful, but to use the example of my hospital work, there are times where someone feels like not telling the truth would be better. Say I'm standing in the room working with a patient, a doctor comes in, and the doctor says, "Oh, have you been taking your medication?" And suddenly there's a shift in how the patient is answering. And, "Oh, yes, absolutely, doctor. Yes, I've been taking," and I'm like, y'all don't think that's actually true. And so the inherent risk in that particular situation is then you've misrepresented that you have been taking a medication. And so the doctor will proceed thinking you are and may change the dose or may change the medication thinking it's not working. So deep dive into that particular example, it's something that I will say to the patient, it's very important to tell your doctor the truth, even if you think it might get you in trouble. And then I will explain and give that rationale and say, your doctor may double the dose, and because he or she doesn't think that it's working. And now you're going to have twice the side effects. So would you like for me to go and relay some different information to the doctor to make sure that your care is the most appropriate?
Wow.
So.
And Elaine, this part of studying body language, did it contribute to what you do in coaching? Did it make it easier mission to convince others because you already know if they are comfortable with, let's say, with your advices or your coaching? In other words, let's say if you are coaching me and you figure out that I'm not getting along based on how you can interpret my body language, do you modify your approach or your scale of coaching based on this without even the client knows?
I think that it's important. I'm going to perhaps set it in the concept of empathy. Is if you feel that someone's not on the same page as you, the kindest thing you can do for what's going to come as far as the rest of the conversation is to be aware of where they're at. I'll give the example of if you come bouncing into a room, you're really excited about something, and you realize that a person's sitting there going, and you don't acknowledge it, and you keep bouncing around and you're so excited about something, that's actually very inconsiderate to them and their feelings, and not acknowledging them as a person and being very focused on yourself. So that's a sideways way to answer the question. It's something that I try to be aware of the person's body language, and in so doing, modeling for them why it's important that they do that with their teams.
Okay.
That if you come into a room and your team doesn't appear to be on board with what you wanted to talk about, to check in with them and find out, where are we at today? What's going on today? Has there something occurred that I wasn't aware of? I think is far more effective as a leader and as a coach than if you just keep barreling along on your own agenda, not being aware of what the other person is feeling in that moment.
Which part you can tell more from the body language or the voice? If I'm talking to you on the phone, can you, let's say, collect my mood, or if you are seeing me?
Oh, this one's a hard one for me. I can receive similar amounts of information from both because of my work from both directions. I find both very, very fascinating, which is, of course, why I got certified in both of them. But it is something that I think as a visual person, it's a little easier for me if I can see the person. But because of my voice work, I do pay very close attention to how someone's voice sounds, and will become more attuned to matching their levels of energy and checking in with them to see how they're doing if I find that there's a mismatch.
So
that one's a hard one for me.
there is no escape for us. but we are talking to you, whether we are. My wife,
No, there's no escape.
look, my wife, she's threatening me. Is this considered a threat or no? Oh, we didn't talk today, but we will soon, I promise. You see?
No. I think she's saying something very cheerful to me about wanting to talk to me later.
So I'm not involved in all this?
No. She was just commenting on me saying, no, I haven't spoken to her, but that I'm going to.
I was watching your videos on YouTube, and I didn't know you can tell from the profile picture about the personality of a person. Because for me, I consider this, and especially these days, it's a material that can be so edited, right? So how do you do that? Is it really you can tell about my personality from this?
Obviously, a single picture is just a snapshot of you. My profile photo shows only one facet, if you will, or several of my personality. That I smile. I'm very positive. That I have red hair, and a lot of it. So there are things that you can tell from someone's profile photo. The amount of effort that they put into it, whether or not it's a blurry photo of a employee badge, this is something that's not as important to you. So there are things that you can tell about someone as far as how important this is to them, and what part of their persona, if you will, that they are wanting to present on a professional platform. The variety of profile photos that I have seen, I find somewhat interesting to see what message you really wanted all of us to receive as a first impression of you as a person. There's a lot that you can convey if you're intentionally taking a profile photo. I give the example, I think, in the video that you saw, where if you're standing over someone, that will cause your audience to feel that you're intimidating, that they are subservient to you, that you don't want to partner with them. Whereas if you're sitting in eye level with your camera and you're looking into the camera, that you're more likely to want to partner with them, depending on the look on your face. If you have a very stern look, I want to step carefully.
Like me now?
If someone is not smiling, okay, I'm gonna say it this way. I'm trying to say this one very carefully, but if you look like you could be transposed onto a police lineup background, because that's the look on your face and that's how friendly you look, you might want to reconsider that, because why would I want to walk up to you and have a conversation with you and possibly do business with you if you look scary?
I see. So it's very, but what you can tell from my picture, from my profile picture.
From your profile, you're putting me on the spot now. I would have to actually go and look at your profile picture to give you an appropriate assessment. So I'm going to tease the audience and tell you that I will do that for you later when they can't hear.
I'm gonna share it, because when I was
okay, you're gonna do this now. All right.
when I watched your YouTube video, there was one picture. It says, I think, fear to connect. So I closed the video and went to my profile picture, and I looked to my picture, and I said to myself, I'm not afraid to connect. I try to mix and match, to understand it, but it's really hard to get anything.
Yes.
It needs a real.
Certainly can go over your profile photo if you like. I will tell you, you graciously asked for me to give you some feedback, and it is something that I always like to come to the table with feedback from the standpoint of, how can I help you represent yourself in the best possible way? Not this is my preference, or this is what I would prefer, or those kinds of things, to possibly use my knowledge as a way to make you aware of how can you be perceived by other people? And is that really what you want? So that was the intent of that photo. Is there sometimes that people use a particular photo for a specific reason and they might not understand that they might be coming across in a way that they didn't anticipate? I will say, very carefully, because I like to protect people's privacy. But there was a person on LinkedIn who, after that video that I did a post on, reached out to me and said, "I'm concerned about how my profile comes across." So I did give this person some feedback on their profile, and they explained the rationale for why they had chosen that. And I said, I can understand that. You just may want to be aware that you might be unintentionally
Not delivering.
causing people not to feel that you're warm and connective when you actually seem like you are in conversing with you. So they decided to make some changes to that, based on wanting to kind of find a middle ground between what the reactions were they had been getting with a previous photo versus the current one.
Do you consider yourself a therapist? I'm not asking about the licenses and
I'm assuming you're using the word, this is why I paused, you're using the word therapist to mean like mental health professional, a counselor?
Yes.
Okay, because the other terminology for speech language pathologist is speech therapist. So I had a moment there. I was like, well, yes, I consider myself a speech therapist. But
no, I understand this part, but I mean, from all, you master the body language, you master how we are expressing our feelings and how we are hiding. Can you get involved as a therapist? Can you advise in this area?
No. I'm going to be unequivocal on that point. That is an entirely different training. I can be someone who's empathetic and caring, but if there is something from someone's background that is holding them back in a toxic or damaging way, that is not one of the areas of my expertise. I can be a caring friend, I can be a listening ear, but it's not something that I am qualified to help someone address. And if that comes up during coaching, I will absolutely help someone to find resources that they need. No, I'm very clear on the difference between that.
I see. But you personally, can you tell if they need a professional therapist or no?
This is a very delicate area because someone needing help and someone wanting help can be two very, very different things. So I can recommend, I can offer to help them find someone, but whether or not they choose to will depend on whether or not I choose to continue coaching with them. If I feel that something else is going to get in the way, or that moving forward professionally isn't possible for them as well. So yeah, this is an important area, but one that I approach very, very carefully.
Do you get first impressions when you meet someone new, and you stuck to this impression, or you can, let's say, overcome it?
I think it's very important to be very open-minded. I think all of us have first impressions. So I want to be honest that, yeah, you can get a first impression. I mean, I can get a first impression from a photo and say, wow, this person seems really severe or harsh or scary. But if I have a conversation with them, I often find that that's not the case. And that comes into the whole feedback of, do you understand that possibly there are people out there who aren't going to make it past their first impression of you as a scary person? And so I do think we all have first impressions, in choosing intentionally to say that's only one facet. I think this is, I'm going to take this down the path of that we have stereotypes that we often try to categorize people in. I'm going to use one that's personal to me, and that is there are things that people assume about redheads that they want to apply to me. One of those is that, oh, all redheads have a bad temper, and I actually don't. And so people will make that assumption about me, and it's hurtful to me to have people make that assumption and to approach me in that way, because it doesn't feel very good. And I take that as a platform or a foundation to be more empathetic to other people who maybe experience stereotypes or people making assumptions about them. And I try not to do that to them.
Can you be wrong in your analysis
Oh,
in
absolutely. And I
general?
think, oh yeah, and I think it's important to recognize that there's no foolproof way to quote judge another person. I think it can give you further information, but let me. An example I would say is probably a common one where you see two people laughing and one of them looks over at you and then they laugh harder. Does that have anything to do with you? Or was it just a moment that they glanced over and then maybe they didn't even see you and it had nothing to do with you? You in that moment have the choice to feel like, oh, they were talking about me. They're laughing at me when maybe it had nothing to do with you. Maybe it did. Maybe they are laughing at you, but you don't know. And so making the choice to say, I'm not going to go off on a whole reactionary tangent until I know more information, to kind of put that on hold, put it on pause, and gather more data to see, does it support the hypothesis that you have come up with. But I do think it's important to recognize that we all have moments where we make assumptions and they can be totally wrong.
We have a lot of moments when we go this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
in our nature.
Yeah.
Elaine, how do you see LinkedIn as a social platform? And you have over 70,000 followers. And when I posted that you are my guest, I got a very high views. And this, the meaning of this, that you are well connected and what you bring to the platform is valuable and people want to know more. How do
Mm-hmm.
you see LinkedIn these days, and how important in general to connect, whether on social media, whether in our real life? Is it true our network is our net worth? Those are three questions,
Yes.
and I'm sure those three questions are easier than saying Ahmed. I'm just refreshing the screen.
Yes. Thank you for that. Again, no, I need to hear it as many times as possible. So, I will say LinkedIn is the only social media platform that I have been a part of, and it has been very humbling. And I consider it an honor that I am connected to so many amazing, vibrant, beautiful, wonderful people from around the world. I think that's something that is fascinating and interesting and adds so much color to my life that I'm very appreciative of it. And I will say, as someone who runs a little bit more on the introverted side than the extroverted side, it is incredibly humbling. And there are moments where it does kind of overwhelm me a little bit. But I think it is really important to recognize that we can have a tendency to start playing a role on a social media platform. And it's important to maintain the humility and maintain yourself as an actual real person, and to present our real selves in a way that's appropriate and respectful to others. And that I find that it's far more meaningful because I make offline connections and I have offline conversations with people, that actually brings both of them and I more to life, if you will, rather than just being a comment back and forth. But it's an actual conversation and actually to get to know them as a real person. And so that I see as the real benefit of actually speaking to and having conversations with people. Takes a numbers amount and turns it into actual people, turns them into friends, turns them into an actual network where you can actually help each other because you know something, where you can be a touch point for them, maybe introduce them to somebody that can be helpful for them.
Wow.
I think I answered all three of your questions.
Yeah.
I think
and,
so.
and my other question, which is, there is one here about the
Mm.
power of social media. So you already
Okay.
uh, So basically, LinkedIn is the only platform you are at, right? And YouTube, your
Yes.
YouTube channel.
Yes, well, and my YouTube channel, but I really I use that as my way to just kind of group all my videos together, and so people don't have to scroll.
I see.
But I don't really do a whole lot with my YouTube channel other than that. So
We have Maria from, I
mhm.
think, Cuba. Eager to know what's the professional impression it gives and about the human being impression, which is the most important to me. So, what's
um,
the professional impression it gives? I think it's related to something before. Let me see.
um,
Oh,
um,
oh, I see. She's talking. I'm thinking
oh,
about my
okay,
LinkedIn
okay.
profile
I was
picture.
like, I feel like this has something to do with the photos.
I'm
Um,
sorry. I'm sorry, Maria. I'm I'm not that good. So yeah, she's talking about her profile picture.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to give Maria a little shout out. She is actually my newest connection. I just connected with her in the last 24 hours. So thank you, Maria. That's very kind of you to want to connect with me. So, yes, yes. Thank you for that grace. So, Maria, I would love to give you feedback if you would like about your LinkedIn profile photo. Do have a couple of tips that I think might plus 1% the lovely presentation you are giving. But I don't. I'm very careful to not want to accidentally embarrass somebody. So I think you have a lovely photo. I think you're a lovely woman, and I think that there's a little couple of tweaks that would um, help even more.
Thank you, Maria, for the engagement, and thank you, Elaine, for what we can call this analysis.
Brief overview.
Uh, Elaine, I don't know how to say it, but I can't get enough asking, and every time you are talking, I'm getting more questions to ask. But uh, I don't want you to block me after this interview. So I still have a couple of questions. I'm gonna
Okay.
make it short, nice, and easy to enjoy your
Oh.
Sunday. Uh, my major question is,
Mhm.
if you help others to bring, let's say, the 1% to be more amazing,
Mhm.
to who Elaine Jacques go or reach out if she need or if she feels that she needs to be more amazing?
So for myself, who do I reach out to when I I think it's very important to recognize that we all need help. We all have things that we have blind spots to, and we all need someone else's feedback to say, okay, how can I improve? How can I do better for myself? Because again, I believe in walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Yeah.
And so, certainly, this is part of the reason why I've chosen to get certified in more things. It's why I tend to go crazy with my continuing education courses. I am currently taking a 3-week online conference with a whole bunch of different courses. And
Oh,
I think
three
it's
weeks. Well, that's
yes, 3 weeks. It's been a little intense.
yeah.
The courses are 6 a.m., 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12, and 2. So it's been a lot. So this is why this was lovely that it was on a Sunday so that I had time to do it. But I do think it's very important to have people that you can trust and that provide one of those safe, non-judgmental spaces, but who will be honest with you in a way that doesn't just fillet you, but to let you know, hey, you know what, there is this one thing that I think could help you present yourself better, because certainly I am not perfect. There are things that I do need to improve upon as well, and I need to own that and make sure that I am being a part of what I say I am, which is to be plus 1% and to start today.
Wow, wow, Elaine. You don't hear that often from somebody that saying that I'm not perfect.
That's true.
That's amazing. That's amazing, to understand our abilities, and basically you are continuing your learning.
Mm.
and this is how you contribute to your success, correct?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
And you encourage everybody to keep learning.
Yes. Why wouldn't you? There's so many fun things. So
Exactly.
many fun things to learn. But maybe that's just my nerd side showing a little bit.
Elaine, I have two more questions.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you three words. Uh, if you get the chance to choose one to work with, who would you choose between a kid, a woman, or a man?
Oh, see, you're still working on that other question.
Which
Okay,
one?
well, I
Wh-
will tell
Which
you.
which one? The one about who's a better leader? I know the answer. I've been 13 years practicing the answer. Women are better leaders.
Yes, your wife and I will talk about that later, but
I didn't mention my wife. Can I call my lawyer?
no, I'm sorry. That's disallowed in this case. So
I think we're still in America.
you are a lawyer. You don't need to call one.
No, I need somebody.
Okay, so to answer your question, I am not able to pick one, but I can tell you that I do enjoy spending time with children. But as far as my coaching focus, I do not focus on children. I do focus on adults. So that rules out that answer. But I do like to respond to that carefully, so people don't think I hate children. So,
No, it's understood.
so yes.
So the competition is between the man and the woman now. Who would you pick? Like, without even talking with them on the phone,
Um,
or even seeing them.
oh, this is a really difficult question because it really does come down to personality.
Yeah.
If it is someone who has a very hard driving and will be kind and we'll just say difficult personality, those are probably not people I'm going to enjoy working with as much. So I'm going to default to I can go with either response, but not the children. So I'm going to go with the 2/3 response answer.
So basically, we have no answer.
Right. Yes. Yes. We are going with the diplomatic no answer. I gave you a partial answer. Do I get credit for that?
For me, you didn't. My last questions. I'm gonna tell you four words now,
Okay.
and tell me the first thing you think about.
Okay.
I start this in one life
Mhm.
previously, and I
Mhm.
love it because I got really, the essence of what I'm looking to. So
Okay.
the words are money. What's the first thing you think about money?
Resource.
Wow. Vulnerability,
Authenticity, being true to yourself.
nice. Entrepreneurship,
Autonomy.
I didn't get that. What do you
No.
mean? No.
Oh, sorry. You wanted a further explanation.
Yeah,
For entrepreneurship, that you have the autonomy to pursue your dreams and to make your part of the world a better place through what you want to do.
nice. And finally, success.
Oh, I am going to say that a quote pops to mind, and success is doing what you love and feeling really good while you're doing it and making the world a better place as a part of
Wow.
that.
Wow. I love that. I love all of them. Elaine, I have two extra pages, but it's I'm not trying to use any legal tricks to
Mm.
get more time. We are hitting the hour. I really appreciate the time you gave. And thank you to everyone was with us today or listening and engaging. Elaine, is there any future projects would you like to share with the audience? Tell us about it. Where you're traveling this year?
That I always love talking about that. I do love to travel. I have joked that I am going to wear the numbers off both my credit card and my passport as soon as it's safe to travel again. The list of places I want to visit before I
your
leave the
suitcase is
planet
ready, right?
is long.
Your
I'm sorry.
suitcase is ready.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I am ready. When it's time, I am ready. And I'm very excited to travel again and meet people in person. That is something that I have done is I've actually met a reasonable number of my LinkedIn connections in person.
Oh, really?
Yes,
When is
yes.
my turn? When
Well,
is my turn?
I only just connected with you recently, so I couldn't visit you before I
Yeah,
knew you. So
the list is long. Yeah.
so, but yes, your wife and I talked about me coming to Connecticut. So
Is
we're,
she
we're, we're
behind you?
working that out. So no, I went, I flew for a weekend, and I'm not kidding. A weekend, I flew to Singapore in 2019 to meet a couple of my LinkedIn connections in person.
Just a second. A weekend, like 48 hours?
A weekend, as in I was there for, I think it was 64 hours, and I spent 60 hours traveling there. And that's not true. I actually met
Wow.
six of my LinkedIn connections as a part of that weekend, but it was a surprise. It was a surprise for one of them. So it
I
was
love
fun.
that. I
Yeah.
love it. It's above and beyond.
Yeah. So this is me when people say, "Oh, I like to travel." This is me. I really actually do like to travel, and I will do it. And if I threaten to come visit for the weekend, you should probably be afraid because it might happen.
You're welcome anytime. I'm gonna
Oh, well, thank you.
I'm gonna text you where we leave the spare key outside, so in case feel feel more than welcome.
شكرا جزيلا.
أهلاً وسهلاً. And you see, look, my wife, she's welcoming you too.
Oh, thank you.
You have a house here anytime.
Thank you. And your wife, I just have to tell all the audience, Nidal's wife is gorgeous. She is absolutely beautiful. I was so honored to be able to meet her. So she's an amazing woman.
Thank you very much. And when we were talking about the first impressions,
Mhm.
that's how people get married.
Yes.
And then,
I did hear about that. You did very well, Nidal.
also, Maria is welcoming you to Cuba.
Oh, gracias, Maria.
In Cuba, they speak the Spanish I'm learning, which is because I'm confused always with the Spanish of South America and the Spanish in Spain. So mucho gracias, right?
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
I'm still
Yeah.
working on that.
Okay.
Elaine, I want you to enjoy your weekend and can't thank you enough for all the important and extra value we get today from your readings. And again, I appreciate all what you are doing and wish you all the best. And I want to ask on public if I can consider myself a friend to Elaine Jacques.
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely. So,
You're-
shukran jazilan and afwan,
Say
Nidal.
one more time,
Appreciate
Ahmed.
it.
No. Ahlan wa sahlan, Elaine. And, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you. And the same for you and your beautiful wife.
Thank you. Thank you, Elaine Jacques, my guest for today. We had an amazing, wonderful, viral discussions on different topics, please connect with Elaine. You can find her profile on LinkedIn. Elaine, she's an amazing person, and she's always ready to connect. And as usual, my quote for the end of this live stream is: don't wait until you reach your goal to be proud. Be proud of every single step you are taking to achieve this goal. With this, I want to leave you blessed and in peace. Thank you, everyone, for being with us today, and stay safe. See you next week.